Hey guys, it's Jen over at jenscrappypages.blogspot.com, and this is today's card. I decided to keep it super simple and use mostly products that are retiring. So let's get to the supplies and then I'll show you how I made it. I did use the 2016-2018 In Color Enamel Shapes, and these are retiring May 31st, so tomorrow night. Bella and Friends for the Sentiment, and this is continuing into the new catalog. Yay! And then I used the Succulent Framelits Dies, which are retiring, and then the Layering Circles Framelits Dies. For ink, Versamark and Basic Black. I used white embossing powder for my flowers and then just some little glue dots to adhere them to my card. For the cardstock and paper, it is a 4 1/4 by 11 Whisper White and a 4 by 5 1/4 Whisper White. And then you'll just need a scrap to cut out the flowers. I did use the 3 smaller flowers here. This one is a 1 1/2. This one is 1 1/4, and this one is a 1 inch. For my paper, I used the In Color Designer Series paper stack, and that is also retiring tomorrow. And the size circles that I used are 1 7/8, 1 3/8, and 1 1/8. Let's get started by embossing our flowers. And I decided to do this as a step up, so you don't have to emboss your flowers. It is certainly an option, but this is what it looks like when you do. It just gives a really pretty shimmer, or not shimmer, but kind of a really pretty sheen to it, and makes them pop a little bit more up off of the card. And to do so, I used some Versamark, and basically you're just going to get your flower covered with that Versamark. And then you're going to cover them with your white embossing powder. And the reason I used white was because my Versamark pads are not the cleanest. And so when I first put the Versamark on it, it left a little bit, well, it left my Whisper White cardstock a little dirty. And so if I had used clear, you would have been able to see that through the clear embossing powder. So that's why I grabbed out my white, because that'll completely cover over any smudges or anything that you might have in your Versamark. So then I'm just going to take each one of these flowers, and I'm going to take my heat gun to it. And the thing that I found a little bit easier, you know, so your flowers don't go blowing all over your workspace, is I just took my tweezers, or you could use a piercing tool or just some fine tip scissors, and I put it in a little space of the flower where it would just kind of hook onto it once I got the embossing gun going. Once your flowers are cooled down, I went ahead and I repeated this step a second time. They're okay the way they are now, but I liked the way that second layer of embossing just really gave them a little bit more definition, a little bit more depth. So I'm going to go ahead and emboss these a second time. I really love I don't know if you guys can see that, but isn't that really pretty? I just love how it gives that extra little sheen, and it almost ends up looking like an enamel shape, but it just started off as cardstock. So our card front then is really simple. We're just going to go ahead and adhere each of these circles on, just using some of your regular adhesive. And then I just placed one about here, and of course my words, I need to make sure that those are going straight. And then the smaller one is going to go just up here, up to the left a little bit. And then my final circle is going to get put up to the top of it. Now, I'll be honest with you, this actually started off is a Pinterest inspired card, but it doesn't look anything like it because it wasn't working out the way I had hoped to. So this kind of took on a card of its own, I guess, when I got to playing with everything, which is kind of fun. So I'm just going to round all of my corners on this, and I'm also going to round the corners of my card base. And then I'm going to throw each of my flowers on using a little glue dot. And that's all you need for it. And then I did take my flower petals and I just kind of lifted them a little bit up off of the paper just for a little extra added dimension so they weren't just laying flat on my circle. In my sentiment, I kept simple and kept down here in the bottom left corner of that, and I just used my basic black. I debated on whether or not I was going to use one of the colors that was in this, but opted to stick with something basic because I didn't want to take away from the colors in my card that were already up there. So I just put this kind of down here in the corner. That turned out really sweet. And then I'm going to use some Stampin' Dimensionals and I'm going to pop this up off of my card base. Isn't that just turning out super cute? So then the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to add my little enamel shapes, if I can find them. I just absolutely love these things. So I put just a little one up here on the Peekaboo Peach. And then my, what's it called? Flirty Flamingo, and then finally my Sweet Sugar Plum. And that's it. That is the card. What do you think? Isn't that really cute? Super simple, super simple, which I love simple at times. And you can make it even more simple by not embossing your flowers. I did have a request for techniques, which was embossing, and that is what inspired me to go ahead and emboss my flowers. If you guys have any certain technique that you've been wanting to try or wanting to learn, let me know either in my YouTube comments or on my blog post, and I will try to come up with something. I always love a challenge. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you would like the dimensions, they will be listed on my blog and jenscrappypages.blogspot.com. Thanks again for watching. I will talk to you later. Bye.